So we haven't had a really good episode of the Baseline Drive in quite some time. And I'm taking this beautiful drive up the California coast to do a Positive Coaching Alliance workshop in Santa Barbara about the mental game of sports. We're going to dive into some sports psychology for kids and high school athletes. So I thought I'd take advantage of this time up the drive to talk about something I was just listening to on Sports Talk Radio. The host of the show was talking about championship teams in the NBA playoffs and championship teams in general. And he was saying that most championship teams that he remembers seem like they have just this little bit of magic. Whether, it's just really fortunate circumstances or, last second wins, come from behind victories, or maybe even just start playing together in such a magical way like the Golden State Warriors are now or the Spurs have done in the past. So it got me to thinking about some championship teams that I've been a part of. And he might be right a little bit. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm a big fan of Once Upon a Time, the TV show on ABC. If you've never seen it, it's set in a land called Storybrooke, and it's based on all of the fairy tales that we grew up with as kids. And all of the characters from all of the fairy tales intermingle and have some sort of relationship in some newfound present day twist. And it's kind of interesting to try to figure out what happens next. But it's must-see TV for me. I DVR it and watch it, and I'm kind of a geek that way. But just like in all the fairy tales, there seems to be, the good magic and evil magic, and this fight between good and evil. And no matter what mission the characters are on or what adventure they might be facing, it always takes some sort of magic to accomplish that goal. And like in a lot of fairy tales, I guess, the underlying theme is that, love overcomes all. And in the long run, good magic tends to win. But true love often wins out. And it made me think about that a little bit more. If you've written or read anything that I've written or listened to me in the past, you know that three things I think are really, really important in anything you do, whether it's sports, business, life, relationships, or whatever, is that you got to care, you got to think, and you got to try. And care is probably the most important of all of those. And caring to the greatest extent possible is really love. So, does it take love to win a championship? Maybe so. I think you clearly, if you're a championship caliber player, you clearly love the sport. And when teams start to play at that high level, I don't think they get very far unless they really care about their teammates a lot. If they don't love their teammates, if they don't care enough about their teammates to do everything that they possibly can do, then they're going to fall a little short. So you got to care about the sport, love the sport, got to care about your teammates, love your teammates. And I think the best teams are the ones that really, really care about who they represent. Not only themselves and their family, but the school that they might be playing for, or the organization or the city that they're representing. And the ones that really, really love that city or love that organization, they tend to go that extra mile. And And probably the most important thing you got to care about is you really got to love yourself. Love yourself enough to give your very best effort and do your very best. So, when teams do all of those things, when they have all of that love, they can do some magical things, right? They create their own magic. Those small acts add up to something magical, and maybe that magic does equal championships. We all think of magic as something that's mystical. Not everyone has magic, but everyone can do those little magical things that, when they're combined and they work in synergy, can make the team as best as it can possibly be. I was fortunate enough for 9 years to work at Pomona-Pitzer Colleges for this great coach named Charlie Katsiafikas. And when I coached with him, one of my duties was to go to the scorer's table before the game and spell his name phonetically so the announcer would get it right during introductions. Katsiafikas. So we call him Coach Cat for obvious reasons. But years later, my oldest son has an opportunity to be an assistant for Coach Cat. So he's a second-generation assistant at Pomona-Pitzer Colleges. Great opportunity. And we talk all the time about Coach Cat and the cat-isms that he comes back, the wise sayings and words of wisdom and speeches that he'd give. So my son Sean was relaying a message that Coach Cat was trying to deliver to his players one day. And, he's talking about what it takes to be great. What it takes to win a championship. And, he says, and I'm paraphrasing because I wasn't there, but to win a championship, you can't be normal like every other person. That's the definition of average. Every other person is average. They do the average thing. And champions aren't average. They're more than that. You can't just be like everybody else to win a championship. You've got to be more than that. And if you don't want to go that extra mile, if you don't want to do a little bit extra, if you don't want to do the things that it takes to be a champion, that doesn't make you a bad person. It just means you can't be a champion. Because champions do more than the typical or average human. So in order to win a championship, you can't be like every other human. You've got to be more than that. You've got to be superhuman. I like that. Be superhuman. Be the magic in the room. Coach Loke, out.